to shock the world here.
I'm calling for an open tryout. If anyone is watching this, I'm calling for an open tryout. I got a year of eligibility
You
left.
might have some.
Anthony, where is home for you?
Home is Medland.
That's wrong.
All right, I hear what you're saying, but I'm just have to disagree.
While we were in class this morning, I was watching his mixtape, and this guy catches and shoots from anywhere.
Are you ready for some debate? Because Bobcat Breakdown starts right now.
Hello and welcome to Bobcat Breakdown. It was a long winter break, but we are back for a second semester of Quinnipiac Sports. I'm your host, Patrick Walsh, and here with me today are my two analysts, Ben Rickovicius and Beckett Calkins. Boys, how are we feeling?
Feeling great. I'm really excited to get into it, Beckett. How about you?
Oh, it should be a great time, Ben. Let's do it.
All right, without further ado, let's get to our first topic of the night. The men's basketball team is off to their best start in 40 years. They are currently first in the MAC with a 16-4 overall record, along with an 8-1 conference record, and just gained a big win this weekend against in-state rival Fairfield. They've received help not only from starters like Matt Blanc, Amari Tice, Paulo Tiano, and Savion Lewis, but from bench players as well. Fellas, how much of the team's hot start is due to the success off the bench? Beckett, start us off.
Well, Pat, I'm going to say not a lot. Obviously, having a bench helps. Having a good bench helps, and having depth is something that you need. But realistically, this is a team with an 8-man rotation, and with everyone healthy, they're leaning heavily on 5 or 6 players, and not everyone has been healthy. Guys like Caden Bennett and Damar Kelly up and down. Reeve Avers, who was a starter for the Bobcats, hasn't played a ton of games so far this year due to an injury. So I think those are playing factors in the depth that the Bobcats have. And guys like J.J. Riggins are playing minimal minutes in this one. So I think overall having a good bench helps. But I attribute to the success of this squad to guys like Amari Tice, Matt Blanc, Savion Lewis, and guys in that starting lineup, if we're being honest.
Yeah, Beckett, honestly, we're on the same kind of wavelength here on this one. I said just a little bit, and obviously Doug Young has been very impressive so far. Obviously, the career high 24 points against Iona, that massive 3 at the end that really just gave them the momentum to get that win. And this bench is good, but they haven't needed to be tested just yet, I don't think, so far in MAC play. And when you got guys like Matt Blanc, who's second in the MAC in scoring, a new addition in Amari Tice, who's just putting the team on his back in a lot of cases, giving big boards, lots of energy, high-effort plays. And, I mean, Paulo Tiano having one of the best statistical careers of his years in college. Savion Lewis, second in the nation in assists. I mean, you could just go on and on and on about that starting lineup. And Vavers versus Reyes is something, Beckett, I think that's very interesting because, obviously, they'll kind of alternate until Vavers is fully healthy. So I kind of look at them both as, like, both that 5th starter. I don't know about you.
Well, that's a good point. It's something that's very telling is the end of that Fairfield game when we saw Amari Tice go down with an injury and Reeve Avers was in that lineup over Alexis Reyes at that point. Reyes then came back into the game, but Reeve Avers is a guy, he's fantastic, and we'll see if he, of course, adds the depth, but at some point you have to put your best 5 out there. Depth will help you get there, but in big moments, you want your best 5, and I think that's what it comes down to.
Here's maybe a question for you, Beckett. 6-man, is it Doug Young or Alexis Reyes?
Well, I think it's Alexis Reyes, but right now, how can we have that conversation when Alexis Reyes has been the guy starting for the Bobcats? So right now, we haven't seen Reeve Avers start a game since coming back from injury, so that's going to be another factor for the Bobcats in top court.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that bench gets tested more as we go along with the season, but I think overall, I think we can agree here pretty solidly that the starting lineup is doing a lot of the work right now.
They're carrying the load. I mean, let's be honest, the starters, they're carrying the load, and they're playing huge minutes as well. That's another thing we haven't really talked about.
All right, now we're going to shift to the women's basketball team. The girls have been struggling as of late as they are currently 6th in the MAC and are on a 4-game losing streak. They sit with an overall record of 7-11 with a conference record of 4-5. This includes 2 recent losses against Fairfield and Siena. Star forward Ella O'Donnell was injured in the Fairfield game after driving to the basket for a hard and 1 layup, leaving questions about her temporary replacement. Guys, who's to step up to replace Ella while she sits out? Ben, UBN.
So I think before we address who it is that replaces her role, we have to understand what her role is on the team. And for her and a team that's very shallow at big depth, it's an important role offensively, grabbing boards, and she is the oldest member of that starting 5. They're all first years outside of her when she was healthy. So she was, in a lot of ways, like the older, player that a lot of the players look up to. So with that being said, I went Grace LaBarge here to step up in a big role, both from a minutes production and on the court, and also a leadership role. Obviously, there's a lot of questions. I mean, Foley is in the starting lineup, but there's other players like Bowen, maybe Casey, Tungo, that could maybe step in and play some big minutes.
What's your knock on those other players?
inexperience. They're not ready yet. Labarge has been here for a few years, and she's had big moments.
But you're going to mention inexperience, but look
Yeah,
at players like Solan having
Selene, yes.
having great years despite the inexperience.
Yes, and obviously they're kind of still coming onto the scene, but I don't think we've seen enough out of them. I mean, Selene is a shooter who does most of her damage from the three-point line, right? And three-point shooters do get cold. And I honestly think that in the case where am I taking an experienced three-point shooter like Grace Labarge, who's got a little height to her and can grab boards, or am I taking someone who's a first-year shorter? And yes, right now Selene's shooting at a higher clip, but I think as she starts to play more games, it'll start to fall down.
Then I'm going to have to go in a different direction
Okay.
here. And I think I'm leaning more on a less experienced player. Now I'm going with Bree Bowen. And you can knock her as much as you want, but she's been fantastic when she's been out there for the Bobcats. Her minutes have been increasing throughout this season, and she scored 13 points 3 games ago against Niagara. So she's a player, she's a tough defender, she's known as a hustle player. And that's shown in multiple games, taking charges and playing strong defense. But she can score the ball if she needs to. And she did that in high school. She was a McDonald's All-American nominee in 2022, just 2 years ago. And then she went to school, Delaware. They have a great basketball program in Delaware down the Colonial Conference. She played in high school at Archbishop Wood, which is a fantastic basketball powerhouse in Pennsylvania. And she was a 2-time captain. So you're mentioning leadership a little bit there. She knows how to win, and she knows how to lead a team, and she can step into this role just fine.
Thanks for printing out Bree Bowen's resume for me and sliding it in. But respectfully, I think Grace Labarge has more respect right now and will continue
But we're not
as we
talking
go
about
along this
respect.
season.
We're talking about ability.
All right, but still, right?
Respect
How much have
only
we
goes
seen?
so
How
far.
much have we seen so far from Bree Bowen scoring-wise? Not much at all.
You don't need the scoring when you have guards stepping up. You need tough defense. You need rebounding.
Yes.
Every team needs a hustle player to tie it all together, and that's what she will do.
I just don't think she serves the role of hustle player. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, Becky, but I don't think I am. I think Labarge is what you need. You need the voice on the court. I don't think. Yes, I know you mentioned
there's other
the captain
voices on the
stuff,
court.
but I don't think they're established voices. I think the difference is Grace Labarge is an established voice.
All right, guys. Right now, it's time for our first commercial break of the night. When we return, we will discuss the big rivalry wins Quinnipiac Athletics gained over the weekend, along with some QBSN Executive Board top rivalry picks. Bobcat Breakdown returns right after this.
I think it's just vapor with flavor.
It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes, right?
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
My kid?
My kid
knows it's dangerous.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life, but how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have prediabetes, a serious medical condition that puts you at high risk for type 2 diabetes. 1 in 3 American adults has prediabetes, but more than 80% don't know they have it. The good news is, prediabetes can be reversed, and for many people, healthy changes in their daily routine can make a big difference. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.
With 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, block the paint, up and in with 3.5 seconds remaining. And UConn comes out successful with the puck. It's Lucas. Lucas walks the line and holds. Lucas towards the front of the net. Save made by Duplessis. A scramble in front. Modani shot above the net. The rebound out in front. And it's pinned up behind the net. Throwing it out in front. Save made by Duplessis. And that's it. It's over. It's a three-peat for Quinnipiac. All alone is UConn. Looking to put it on the lead. And a save by Christina Torres.
point for the Bobcats. 10 in on the serve. That's picked up. They'll go with a spike, but it'll be blocked. Bailey Brashear with the block to win the Bobcats set number 3. Keep their hopes at a championship alive here today.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakout, and thank you again to QBSN Executive Board for those picks. Rivalries are a massive part of college athletics, whether big or small, and Quinnipiac is no different. With the men's ice hockey team playing Yale and UConn, as well as the men's basketball playing Fairfield, it was a weekend full of rivalry games for the Bobcats. Guys, what would you say are your top 3 rivalries in Quinnipiac? Beckett, you can start us off.
All right, number 1, let's get it out of the way. The Battle of Whitney Ave. Men's hockey versus Yale.
Okay.
I think that's a given. I think there's no way to argue that. Number 2, we just saw it. Men's basketball versus Fairfield. I mean, the proximity, the atmosphere, it's been fantastic. And it's not just this year, recent years. A couple years ago, Jacob Bergoni hit a game winner on Fairfield. They're always competitive games. And number 3, acrobatics and tumbling versus Baylor. This is a rivalry that's been, established through relationships and throughout the last decade, really. I mean, there's been multiple different rivalries on campus that you could argue, but overall, you have to give it to the program that has the most success, I think, as well, and acrobatics and tumbling has done that.
Okay, I like that. So one of them we share as a common factor, and that's my number 1. That's men's basketball, Fairfield. Great rivalry, love that.
Where's the Battle of Whitney Ave?
Get ready! It's not even on the top 3 list.
That's terrible.
It's not even on the top 3 list, and we'll get into it in a minute after I preview my other 2. Quinnipiac women's ice hockey, Colgate, is number 2, and number 3 is Quinnipiac Fairfield volleyball. All right, we want to talk about Whitney Avenue first here, Beckett?
Let's go there.
All right, let's go here. Quinnipiac is 32-7-5 all-time against Yale.
I don't care.
They won the last 14 meetings.
I do not
14.
care. You look at the proximity, you look about how hyped up it is, even at Yale.
Yeah.
It's not just here, it's both ways.
Here, let me argue this point, right? Quinnipiac, sold out games. It's a big event every year. What about Yale? What happens when they go to Yale? Empty student section. What happened this weekend, Beckett? No one was there. Everyone went to go see Quinnipiac UConn.
It was in Hartford, Ben. It was in Hartford. Okay. That's a different location. Okay. That's not even at Yale. You're bringing up the at Yale point, and then you're going to point out something 45 minutes away. How does that make sense?
Okay, when I look at what a rivalry is, yes, fan passion is big. But also it matters about the play. It matters about the play. Yes, they played in an NCAA championship game, but here's a big point.
That carries weight. An NCAA championship game carries weight.
I got to ask you something about this Yale team. Can you tell me who their best player is? Can you tell me who the Yale men's hockey team's best player is?
Can you tell me who the Quinnipiac volleyball team's best player is in their game?
I think I could tell you a few different options. I think I can tell you different.
Let me hear it.
The Ganesh twins, number 1. I like Ginevra Giovannioni as well.
Where's Leilani Kaijusa?
Leilani Kaijusa was the first year. I mean, you can put her up there. I don't think she's there just yet. I think in a few seasons she will. But you're getting me off the topic. The topic of point is David Chen, who leads Yale in points scored this season, 16. Guess where he ranks on Quinnipiac scores?
Not in the top.
10th. That's embarrassing, Beckett.
But that's comparing the two teams. You didn't. That doesn't account for their play styles.
Yes, but
maybe Yale plays a lower scoring game than Quinnipiac so far this year.
But still, they're not competitive. They're not competitive. I mean, yes, they won 1-0. They won 1-0.
That's Are you saying a 1-goal game is not competitive hockey? Because I would argue
it was slow hockey. It was slow hockey.
So do you not like slow hockey? Do you not like low scoring hockey? I would argue that low scoring hockey is more fun than high scoring hockey.
It's fine, but there was just not a lot of shots on goal here. Go ahead, Pat. Right. Take us out of this. Take us out of this. I can't even talk.
All right, I'm going to have to agree. I agree with Beckett on the first 2. I think Yale hockey, it's the rivalry that the school gets hyped up the most, and everyone gets hyped up about it around.
Hype carries some weight.
And then Fairfield, you saw last week, I think these 2 teams are going to carry MAC basketball for the next few years. My third rivalry, I'm going to go Quinnipiac, Michigan. It's kind of in the same boat as the Yale rivalry. I mean, big, prestigious school. But when a team like Quinnipiac, who lost to Michigan in 2022 in the regional final, spent their whole 365 days preparing to beat them again, they probably didn't have a lot of great feelings about Michigan going into the game in 2023. So I would say that was a big rivalry. And Michigan is a school that has, obviously they just won a national championship for football, has won national championships for basketball. They have it all. A small school like us, I think when we play a school like Michigan and win, I think it would be a big rivalry.
Pat, I got a question for you, because now I see the list. I like it. It's not bad. But aren't rivalries two-sided? Does Michigan hockey look at Quinnipiac and say, those are our rivals? Yes, they just eliminated from the playoffs.
Playoffs matter.
Yes, they
playoffs
do.
matter. I'm with Pat here. An NCAA tournament game carries weight. Hype carries weight.
One playoff game? When you look at it.
All right, you want to mention more than one playoff game? How will we go back to Acro versus Baylor? The last 2 years, Baylor has beaten the Quinnipiac.
What about Yankees Red Sox? Yankees 27 World Series titles. Red Sox have like 6.
We're both Red Sox fans. We can't listen to this.
That's a one-sided rivalry. The Yankees have owned that rivalry like their whole history.
I think when you look about it in the past few years, though, that's like the big thing, at least for me, when I was making my list. It was about the years, because I wasn't around here in 2004. I was born that year, so like I don't really like. The rivalry back then is different. It grows over time. So I was looking at the last 10-ish years.
Oh, the last 10-ish years. In those last 10 years, Baylor's head coach, Felicia Mulkey, 12 national championships, 8 in those last 10 years, 8 straight.
How many is Quinnipiac?
Quinnipiac has not won any because Baylor has gone back and forth and prohibited them from winning in back-to-back years.
How is that not a one-sided rivalry?
It's not a one-sided rivalry. It goes both ways.
Can't beat Baylor.
How is that
a rivalry?
It's not a rivalry because it's the competitive nature.
Acro Tumbling is not a rivalry.
No, I'm saying it's a rivalry because of the competitive nature.
I don't know. You just literally said that they haven't beaten them, and
in the last
part
2
of the
years.
rivalry, right?
No,
you have to be able to beat your rival sometimes.
No, but sometimes it's not necessarily.
The Red Sox may have been terrible last year, but at least they beat the Yankees a few times.
But it's not necessarily who's winning those games. It's the atmosphere in those games. It's the competitiveness in the matches, whatever it is.
I think we can agree that it's a combination of a lot of things that make a rival, right?
I would agree with that.
All right. We'll end it there. All
right. It is time for our second commercial break of the night. When we return, we will discuss the men's and women's ice hockey teams and how they fared in their games this past weekend. Bobcat Breakdown will return right after this.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at SavedByTheScan.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. The women's ice hockey team struggled over the weekend with losses against the Yale Bulldogs and the Brown Bears. Graduate student goalkeeper Logan Onger started both games, her 28th and 29th on the season, 2 shy of her season total last year. Beckett, how effective has Cass Turner's system of one goaltender been?
Well, I think it's been up and down. We'll say that. I mean, overall, her individual numbers, they're pretty good, but I think fatigue's been playing a factor down the stretch. She's been struggling recently with her lateral movements, and I think it might be time to make a little bit of a change. Most teams run a 2-to-1 rotation with goalies, kind of 2 games for the starter and then 1 off. So I think you need to establish some type of depth, some type of backup goaltender position, and I think that's what the Bobcats need to do. I'm not saying completely bench Anders, but at some point you need to have someone behind her.
Beckett, you started off really hot there, and then you just let it all go when you said that we need to have a system. Because you know who the backup goaltenders are? Lucy Phillips, Tatum Blacker. They're not ready yet, and guess who's coming up? They got 3 ranked ECAC
But how can you say they're not ready yet when they have not played? They
Tatum
barely
Blacker
played.
has played 1 game against Coast. They're not ready. They haven't seen ice
So
time.
you need to give them an opportunity. What happened if Anders goes down? And then in a big game, and then you're forced Phillips or Blacker in a huge postseason game.
Can I say this?
Go
they
ahead.
have nothing but big games left. If you look at their schedule, all the ECAC opponents they have left, they're tough ones. And then they go into ECAC play and then NCAA play, right? And the big thing there is you can't
Which
throw
is why,
in,
no.
You can't throw
But
in
it's
Taylor
still,
Blacker now.
it's
You
a big
can't.
game, but it's a big regular season game. There is a huge difference from
Right.
regular
But
season
right
hockey
now-
and playoff
Yes,
hockey.
I agree.
And you want to establish some kind of backup goaltender position before you get to those playoffs, before you get to NCAA tournament hockey. That's different.
I do agree with, okay, regular season hockey is different than playoff hockey, yes. But the problem is, where are the Bobcats in the seeding? Are they number 1 in the ECAC right now, Beckett? No. They're still fighting for points for ECAC playoffs. So those games are must win if the Bobcats want to have success in the ECAC playoffs. So, in my opinion, you can't go to 2 goaltenders who have barely played at all. Phillips hasn't even touched the
Then
ice
I would
yet.
say you play who's on your schedule. You don't necessarily worry about seeding
Okay.
right now. You worry about that after. And right now,
I can
it's
see
an
that.
opportunity for younger goaltenders to step up potentially and maybe help out Andres a little bit.
I can see that if they do well these next 3 games against their ECAC opponents, then it falls off. That last weekend, they got Union. They got a little bit of an easier schedule. So you handle business, you win those 3 games, which would be big. Then you could start Andres, or excuse me, Blacker or Phillips, based on if you have clinched your seeding. But the seeding comes first to me, Beckett. It's not about let's throw in a first year or a sophomore who has no experience in a big game.
But they haven't been winning their games recently with
That's not on Andres. That's not on her, though.
Okay, but
you
at
can't say that's on her.
At some point, it might be, and so you have to look elsewhere at some point. If
Beckett,
you're not winning,
over
you
the last
see so
4
many
games-
teams change goalkeepers,
Yes.
change coaches,
Yes.
mix up their lines. If you're not winning, winning is what matters at this level of NCAA
But
athletics.
Beckett, over the last 4 games, how many goals have the Bobcats scored? Total. I'll tell you, 5. That's it. That's it. For a team that has the ability to score so many goals, they're not scoring. Maya Labat, excuse me, someone who many people predicted to have a breakout season this year, she's got 10 goals, 10 assists. Not terrible, but not quite the step up that a lot of people were predicting. It's got to be the other players in front of Andres to step up. And yes, she's getting tired. I agree, Beckett. She needs help, but it's not
So
from
she
her
does
goaltender.
need help. So
she needs help. Yes, I
Look
agree
at
with
the
that.
2 people behind her
But not
to give
from
her
the
a little bit of
goaltenders.
help.
Not from the goaltenders. She
I don't
needs
know,
help
Ben.
from her team, not the goaltenders.
Help comes from everybody.
It does.
All right, we will now shift to the men's hockey team. The Bobcats just picked up their 3rd straight CT Ice title after beating the Yale Bulldogs in the first round Friday and the Yukon Huskies in the championship Saturday. They've won 3 of the 4 times the tournament has played, with the Sacred Heart Pioneers winning in 2020 and the tournament being canceled in 2021 because of COVID-19. Guys, does the CT Ice tournament matter more than other games, or is it just 2 regular games? Ben, you start us off.
As a naive hockey fan going into this, I thought no. But I've kind of seen the light. After watching some of the play in this tournament here, last year, what happened? They
You
came
mean
back.
the non-competitive games in this tournament?
Oh, no. I'm not talking about that Yale game. Not talking about that Yale game. We're talking strictly UConn.
But you
Quinnipiac.
said games plural. You said games plural.
Okay, you
With
got
an
me
S
there.
at the end.
That's a little typo. That's a little typo on my teleprompter here, right? But UConn, right? That game last year, they had to battle back. They were losing. They came back in that 3rd period. They won. And guess what their record was the rest of the year? The rest of the year, they go 15-1. What's their one loss? Colgate, ECAC playoffs. They win a national championship. So really, the competitive nature, and obviously UConn being a Hockey East opponent, plays different style, more physical hockey, right? That got them ready for the run that they eventually had.
This is so competitive. Why is that not on your rivalry list then?
It was an honorable mention, if you can believe it or not. Could you believe it, Beckett? It's an honorable mention.
I don't know. You're just,
I got it. I got it in the receipts. We can go back.
Unbelievable.
We can go back.
I think it matters, Ben, but I don't think it's anything crazy. A school like Quinnipiac should beat teams like UConn.
Yes,
they
I
should beat
agree.
teams like Sacred Heart. Sure, it's a rivalry game against Yale, but they should beat them. Like, let's be honest.
I agree with that on Yale. And for UConn, yes, right now, but I think in a year or 2, UConn's get to a place where they're really challenging Quinnipiac and they might snag some games from them. That's my opinion. I've watched the UConn team evolve from last season to this season. I've seen tremendous growth, and I think it's coming where one day UConn's going to beat Quinnipiac in the CTI tournament.
You can talk about the growth that UConn's had, but every team that played in the tournament, other than Quinnipiac, they have a losing record. Below 500, Ben.
Yeah, but do you know how competitive the Hockey East is?
Do you know how competitive the Quinnipiac Yale game is? Clearly you don't.
Okay, yes. But 6
guys,
Hockey East teams ranked, that's competitive play right there.
It is
That
now
can contribute to a
time
losing
for our
record.
3rd and final commercial break of the night. When we return, myself, Ben, and Beckett will give our final roars of the night. Bobcat Breakdown will be right back.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Jules, spot on this last one. There it is.
Keep going with it. Leo.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this. You will find something.
You will find something new.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. It is now time for our final roars. Ben, you start us off.
Thanks, Pat. On Sunday, I had the opportunity to broadcast the Quinnipiac Fairfield men's basketball game for QBSN. This trip gave me the opportunity to see a road crowd at a MAC basketball game. Sunday's matinee game was sold out and had an energetic student section behind it that was relentless until Quinnipiac's Matt Belanc hit the game-sealing shot. On Sunday, I couldn't stop thinking about what kind of atmosphere could be created at Quinnipiac home basketball games if Hamden at Lender Court had a higher attendance rating. It's a common topic that Quinnipiac athletics the last few years, the student body hasn't had lots of success with selling out other games other than the men's hockey games, but men's and women's basketball games this season have had mediocre attendance numbers at best. The Quinnipiac men's basketball team currently sits in the first place in the MAC and off to its best start in 44 years. Savion Lewis is second in the nation in assists per game. Energetic players like Amari Tice and Matt Belanc are consistently throwing down impressive dunks, and Tom Pecora has the Bobcats playing like they could win the MAC championship for the first time in program history. While the women's team has had its ups and downs, they have a fun young core that could benefit from a loud supporting crowd. This is a call out to the entire student body at Quinnipiac. Pack the court and enjoy great basketball being played in Hamden before it's too late. Quinnipiac may be known as a hockey school, but the Quinnipiac men's basketball team is outperforming the reigning national men's ice hockey champions.
As the temperature gets warmer and more students are walking around campus, they will notice a major change in the landscape of the athletic fields on the Mount Carmel campus. Replacing an old, uneven grass baseball field with a hill and fair territory down the right field line is a new, perfectly laid out turf field. The prior field was a lackluster setup for a mid-major Division I school, and with the new facilities come new opportunities for the Quinnipiac baseball program. The field will generate higher fan interest, more student support, different recruiting levels, and it very well could help the Bobcats put a better product on the field, not only in the long run, but short term as well. Coming off a program-tying 30-win season that saw Quinnipiac finish 4th in the MAC in 2023, excitement is building for the baseball Bobcats. For a team that also broke program records in home runs and stolen bases last year, the new field is yet another step forward for Quinnipiac on the diamond and in their road to Omaha.
Things are looking good around M&T Bank Arena. Both fans and student athletes alike have things to look on to fondly as the calendar switches to February and eventually March. Men's ice just captured its third straight CT Ice title after 2 hard-fought games, and the Bobcats are up to their best start in 40 years on the hard court. Although there have been some worrisome moments, Hamden can rest assured as the next 2 months will sure to be some of the most entertaining this campus has ever seen. Everyone around college hockey knows what the Bobcats can do after their national title run last year, and they are in prime position to repeat this year, with many of the key players remaining on the team. Although they will face some tough competition in both the ECAC and the NCAA tournaments, possibly even more notable is the men's basketball team, who hold the best overall in-conference records in the MAC and are in position to be the 1 seed in the MAC tournament. If they secure the automatic qualifier to the NCAA tournament, it would be their first March Madness berth in program history. According to multiple major college basketball analysts, the Bobcats would be a 15th seed, the same seed that fellow MAC member St. Peter's had 2 years ago when they went on a Cinderella run to the Elite Eight. With their high-flying offense and ability to stay in games, I believe they may be able to repeat a similar feat should they get the opportunity to do this. These two teams, along with women's ice hockey, who remain nationally ranked, and the women's basketball team, who look to make a run of their own in the MAC, will provide engaging college sports entertainment for fans around Quinnipiac and Hamden. That does it tonight for Bobcat Breakdown. He's Ben Rickovicius. He's Becca Calkins. I'm Patrick Walsh, and I would like to thank everyone for watching, from those behind behind the scenes and in front of the camera. Have a good night, Hamden.